Laura, thank you very much. So the Labour leader, Sir Keir Starmer, described yesterday's back-to-work budget as an empty cupboard that is now as bare as the salad aisles in our supermarkets.
So what would Labour's offering be, and what would they have done differently in yesterday's announcement? Well, I'm pleased to say that Labour's Shadow Chancellor Rachel Reeves joins us now from Westminster. Good to see you this morning.
Lovely
A lot
to
of
see
the
you.
papers this morning, and indeed Keir Starmer, have landed on this as an idea that it's helping the richest 1%, and this focuses around this potential changes to pensions, which isn't a new idea, and indeed something that Wes Streeting from Labour, the principal of, has supported. So what's different, and what are you so upset about what the Chancellor's proposing as to what you've been proposing?
So everybody agrees that there needs to be a fix for doctors' pensions because the current arrangements is discouraging people from taking extra hours or encouraging them to retire early. But you can fix the problem for doctors without a massive tax giveaway to the people who can save the most in
Rachel?
pensions.
How?
Yeah. So there's currently a scheme, Kate, for judges, which is separate from other pension arrangements, tax arrangements for pensions. So you could do something similar for doctors. In fact, the British Medical Association gave evidence to the Health and Social Care Select Committee not long ago, where they said that this could be done for a fraction of the £1 billion that the Chancellor announced yesterday. So, look, let's fix the problem for doctors. We know that we can do that. But let's not make a £1 billion permanent tax cut for people who are fortunate enough to be able to save more than £1 million when ordinary people are seeing their taxes go up and the biggest fall in living standards ever recorded. It can't be the right priority to help those who can save £1 million when ordinary people are struggling so much right now.
Let's talk about some of the other things as well. Jeremy Hunt outlined yesterday. Energy bill support's extended. Fuel duty has been the freeze on fuel duty has been extended. Better childcare offers, very popular. Lots of our viewers this morning saying this is going to make a huge difference to us. It's a really, really positive thing. There are things within the budget, I'm sure, that you would welcome and you would think, you know what, the Chancellor's got that right.
We called for those three things that you just mentioned, Ben. So, of course, we're going to support those. I welcome the fact that energy bills are going to be frozen, something which I've been arguing for a long time. I wish the government would extend the windfall tax on the big energy companies because you can make money there, which would help people with the cost of living, rather than just borrowing money to freeze people's bills. So I would do things differently. But, of course, I welcome measures to help people with their energy bills, for example, and also with childcare. You know, I'm a working mum. I know how expensive it is to find good childcare that fits in with my job. Both my children are at primary school, and I feel like we weren't really helped by the government when my children were younger. The Conservatives have been in power now for 13 years, and it's at this stage that they've noticed that there's a problem with childcare. You know, I wish they'd have done something about this a few years ago to help all the mums and dads who I know in my constituency and elsewhere who have struggled with these costs of childcare.
The reality is that they're trying to bring it in over. They're going to stagger it over the next couple of years as well. By then, Labour could be in power, of course. You may have taken the big seat and you could end up being the Chancellor. Is it a policy that you would look to keep and support?
Yes, in fact, it's going to take 3.5 years to bring in the full changes on childcare, which does seem to be an awful long time. Labour would, of course, use this money that the government have set aside yesterday to invest in childcare. But
so
we
if
would
you
do
get
something
into power before that 3.5 years, will you accelerate that idea and get it in sooner?
We want to bring it in as quickly as possible. I'll just say one other thing that we would do to free up more money for childcare, which is to get rid of the non-dom tax status. If you make Britain your home, you should pay your taxes here. And we would use that money, around £3 billion or so a year, to invest in one of the biggest ever expansions of the NHS workforce with more doctors and nurses, but also to bring in free breakfast clubs for all primary school age children. That's in addition to what the Chancellor announced yesterday, and is how Labour would bring in more money to the system to help with childcare and also with those NHS backlogs.
So the non-dom status is something that you would do differently, but the three that we highlighted, which are some of the most talked about and popular, actually, of the things that came out of the budget yesterday, certainly with our viewers, you would keep. So therefore, it's rather taken the wind out of your sails, hadn't it? What would you actually do differently?
Well, look, a couple of those things that I've just mentioned, for example, one of the biggest ever expansions of the NHS workforce, doubling the number of people who go to medical training school, increasing the number of training places for midwives, for nurses, for district health visitors. Those are some of the changes that Labour would bring in through our changes to the non-dom tax status. And also, we would extend the windfall tax on the huge profits that the energy giants are making. Shell and BP have just announced the biggest profits in their histories. We would increase the taxes on those companies to help people with the cost of living crisis that they're facing today.
OK, what about the other tax changes that are less popular? What would you keep those in place?
Well, it depends which tax changes you're talking about. I am concerned that ordinary working people are paying more in taxes and seeing their living standards.
Corporation tax, how about that?
So the government have increased corporation tax, but they've brought in investment allowances. I want to do more to help businesses to invest and create those jobs and industries of the future. I take inspiration, Kate, from what President Biden is doing in the US with his plans to get investment in some of those green industries of the future and secure those jobs in his country. I want to do that here in Britain, because I see the amazing potential when I travel around the country to invest in carbon capture and storage, in floating offshore wind, in green hydrogen, in well-paid jobs in all parts of the country to improve our productivity and wages. So that would be a priority for an incoming Labour government to get that investment going, get that growth going in all parts of the country.